everybody. Today I'm here with Modestas Bukauskas, Cage Warriors lightweight champion, former Cage Warriors lightweight champion, and now UFC fighter.
Yes, mate. A light heavyweight champion.
How are you, Modestas?
Yeah, doing very good. Thank you very much. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How you started your passion for the MMA?
How do I start doing MMA? Right. So when I was about 5 years old, I sort of seen, my dad was a fighter back in the day and stuff like that. So obviously I seen him training and doing that kind of stuff. And, every time I'd see him like train or do boxing sparring or whatever, I'd find it like really cool. And I thought, do you know what? I might want to try and get into this. And at the beginning, it started off like sort of very, very playful. My dad's like, oh, here, I'll show you a little kick here or there. And then next thing you know, literally about, I'd say maybe a month in of just us playing around, training became very serious. Then we started my dad started teaching me kickboxing. He taught me sambo and just training me like all areas of like, the early days MMA. And then, I started competing in kickboxing when I was very young. I won 4 British kickboxing titles when I was younger. And I actually had like a little bit of a break away from it. I actually did judo as well. So I competed in judo as well when I was a kid. So, I started off my journey, obviously, with my dad training me. He sort of introduced me to it. Then I took, like I said, like quite a bit of a break away from MMA. And then I went to America when I was 16 till I was about 18. And I was playing basketball actually out there. And I wanted to try and get a scholarship to play in college. And unfortunately, that it didn't work out for me in that area. But then when I was 18, there was a choice whether to stay out there in America or come back home. And obviously me and my dad, we spoke, and then he said, why don't you get back into MMA? And then, as soon as I got back when I was 18, that's it. We just carried off where we sort of left off. So I already had the, like I say, the kickboxing and the sambo background. And then it was just building and trying to improve my skill sets in every area after that.
Modestas, how did your journey in the promotion of the Cage Warriors begin?
Right. So I remember my debut. So when I first started my professional career, I was fighting for UCMMA. And the first fight that I had was against another Lithuanian. And it was also against another guy who was from a gym called the MMA Clinic, which is actually Graham Boylan's gym. So obviously their eyes were on that guy because they were already going to sign him to Cage Warriors. So they basically put me in against him thinking that I was going to lose. And to their surprise, they ended up winning. So already from that point, they had their eyes on me. And then I won a couple of fights in a row. I went out and trained with Jon Jones and stuff like that. So I got 4 wins. And then unfortunately after that, I had my first professional defeat. But then shortly after that, we had a call from Graham Boyle and ourselves to arrange a meeting. And he felt that, I sort of got that fight a little bit too early on in my career for the UCMMA title. So then after that, we basically decided we wanted to sign a 5-fight deal with Cage Warriors. And he said, okay, we're going to lead your career in the right direction. And then, shortly after that, we got a fight. And then, we sort of got the ball rolling.
How often do you wait out of the match? Can you cut the weight well before the match?
Oh, right. So, in terms of cutting weight, I mean, I don't really cut too much weight. I've got a very good nutritionist. His name is Declan Walsh. He's been helping me out. I think it's called Fight to Be Fit is his brand, but he's just been starting to help me out now. But usually, I mean, if I'm eating a load of cakes and, when I don't know of a date of a fight and stuff like that, or I know I've got a bit more time, then, sometimes I do get up to about 230 pounds. But when I'm in good shape, I'm eating well, I've been training hard, which is pretty much now, like I said, I haven't blown up to 230 in ages. So, I walk around really quite light. I mean, 217, maybe 218. So when it gets to the last week, I cut maybe just under 10 pounds. So really nothing for me. That's quite easy to cut. So but if I would not be able to make middleweight though. I mean, I know some people have told me, oh yeah, why don't you go to middleweight? I'm like, I'll literally have to chop an arm or a leg off to make middleweight. So I think light heavyweight is the best weight for me.
How do you feel when you became the Cage Warriors champion?
It was a very crazy feeling because, I mean, I was in a position where, you know, I'd come from so much. You know, I'd lost 2 fights in a row. I'd injured my leg. I'd lost a sponsor. I broke up with a girlfriend. I had no job, no money, and so there's a lot of things that were wrong when when I had after my 6th professional fight, and being 4-2. So I literally had to go from being at the top of the mountain to getting pushed all the way back down, and then I had to climb my way back up again, and no one really believed in me. So even when I'd won 2 straight fights right back to back in Cage Warriors, and then I won the Fight Star Championship belt, so I'd done quite a lot of things and I still didn't get the recognition that I wanted. So I told my dad and I told the guys at Cage Warriors, listen, give us a tough opponent. We want that now. We want to show what we're capable of. And they gave me, one of the top ranked guys in Europe in Marcin Wojciech, who's was an extremely good fighter. And, again, I was losing that fight, but then I came back and knocked him out and won the fight. And already from that point, I got noticed. And, after that, my dad was like, listen, we want even bigger fights. And then they wanted to match us up. And then, the Night of Champions came about. And then that's when I got the Hamlet fight, again, being a massive underdog. And actually, before that fight, I'd constantly visualize success and winning, and I was training my butt off, and I knew skills wise I'm there. It's just I haven't really fully shown my full capability. So and then I had I went to Body Power, which was about 2 months before the fight, and I saw Jon Jones. We were able to talk again and stuff like that. It's funny, he recognized me straight away, which was amazing to have such your idol. I hadn't seen him for 2 years, and he knew exactly who I was. He signed my poster, and I said that I was going to be champion and stuff like that. And it was quite good. That gave me a boost of energy before the fight. And I wrote on my board, that I was going to knock him out and stuff like that. So although the media sort of thought that I was going to lose and it was going to be it was going to be a walkover for Hamlet, and then I ended up winning, all of it, it was basically an accumulation of all the hard times that I've been through, all the stress, all the coming from the ground, no one believing in me, all the odds stacked against me, and then I'll go and win. It was a really euphoric feeling. That feeling to this day is the best I've ever felt after a fight, because I'd literally visualized it so much. I was like, now it's actually happening. It was crazy. So yeah, man, honestly, it was probably the biggest rush of happiness and excitement I had in ages, because then people started to take notice. They never noticed before, and then they started to, and then a lot of things started, going a lot better, and I got more opportunities. So yeah, man, it was a crazy, crazy experience. But as well, I felt like that was what was going to happen, because I believed in it so much. It almost felt natural. At the same time, I was like, wow, this is actually happening. At the same time, I knew this was going to happen in the first place anyways. No one else believed in me, but I did, and my team did. So yeah, it was great to come out with that win. But then I knew after that it's okay, now let's get towards that UFC level now.
Modestas, you fought an Italian fighter, Riccardo Nosilla.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the match against him?
I think he's a very good fighter, very strong. He's very good at what he does. So, his game plan to take the guy down and ground and pound, it worked tremendously in his last couple of fights. Even his fight against Olan Jacek, I think that's his name, who's now currently a UFC fighter. He rocked him in the first round of their fight. So I knew Nosilla was dangerous with his strikes, so he's a heavy hitter, and he goes for the takedown, and he's got great ground and pound. So I knew going into that fight it was going to be dangerous, but at the same time, I trained already for that type of opponent before, so it became natural in my training what I was supposed to do: stop the takedown or get back up to my feet and finish it from standing. So the fight went a little bit differently to how I pictured it would go, but at the same time, because he had such a grappling heavy focus, obviously that took away attention from the elbows, which I landed to finish the fight. So he, you know, that fight was, he was a very tough competitor. Like, I think he would give a lot of other fighters that I'd fought previously a lot of trouble. So, but for me to get that win was obviously amazing. And all credit went to Ricardo, because, you know, he was probably, you know, my toughest opponent, one of my toughest opponents I've had to date.
Modestas, you were born in Lithuania, is right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Are the MMA Acno sports in your country?
Well, the support has actually been quite amazing. Like, you know, all like the media outlets have been asking me questions and stuff like that. You know, I do sometimes feel a little bit embarrassed because, you know, my Lithuanian isn't amazing, because, you know, I was born there, but I moved to London when I was 3 years old. And, you know, my parents wanted me to do good in school here, so they just made me concentrate a lot on English, which I'm thankful for, because it means I'm better spoken in English and stuff like that. But, you know, during this lockdown, I've been trying to, you know, fix up on my Lithuanian, and, you know, so I can relate to my people out there a little bit more. I mean, I can understand it pretty well, but I just can't speak it too great. But yeah, I mean, listen, they've been following since like since my 6th professional win. So, and they get right behind their fighters. I'm not sure 100% what the MMA scene is down there. I mean, I know they have Bushido and stuff like that. They have a couple of really good fighters. You know, Yulia Stoilarenko is another one of them, which is really good coming out of the country. But, you know, obviously I'm the first Lithuanian-born male to step inside the UFC octagon. So obviously that carries a lot of weight. But I'm really looking forward to going and making my country proud. Because, yeah, I mean, listen, if I can then open avenues to you know, bringing the sport or making it a bit more mainstream out in Lithuania, then obviously by all means that'll be an amazing thing. So yeah, we'll see how things go, but they do follow their athletes very, very strongly, especially in boxing as well. So yeah, I can't wait to make them even more proud.
Modestas, do you expect a call from the UFC?
Oh, so I don't know if you've heard, but I got signed to the UFC at the beginning of this year. So I got signed in January on a 4-fight contract. I was then supposed to fight in May, on May 16th, and now I've just been rebooked to fight for July 15th on Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. So, I mean, obviously, the fight that I had booked beforehand in May, I was really looking forward and excited to fight in San Diego. But now we've gotten the same opponent that we were originally supposed to fight in Vinicius Moreira. Yeah, I mean, listen, I can't wait. I mean, this is the thing that we've been waiting for our whole, like, you know, pretty much most of my life. So, and now, you know, every fighter's dream is to make it to the UFC, to fight at the highest level, to be the best in the world. And, you know, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to go out there and show that I'm one of the best, if not the best fighter in the world. And that's what I'm always striving to be. So, you know, you can't do that anywhere else really other than the UFC, you know, the biggest brand in the world. So, yeah, my UFC debut being on July 15th. Yeah, like I say, I can't wait to go out and finally show my skills to the world.
Do you think that winning the Cage Warriors title was decisive for the entry into the most important promotion in the world?
Yes, I definitely think so. I think for European fighters, if you want a platform, there is no bigger platform to get to the UFC than Cage Warriors. They always produce really good fighters. I mean, listen, you've had Conor McGregor, Michael Bisping, Dan Hardy. The list goes on. You've got so many amazing fighters that have made a statement in the UFC. So obviously, if you've got loads of guys that are doing them well in the UFC, they're going to be looking at the guys from that promotion. So they always hold good fights. They've always given me tough opponents, or they've given me a step up in competition. So it was definitely, I knew that once I won the Cage Warriors title, that the UFC call wouldn't be too far behind. So, yeah, man, like I say, they are like the stepping stone to get into the UFC. So if any European fighter really wants to, you know, make a name for themselves, Cage Warriors is the place to be, because they produce so many good fighters.
You will be one of the first to fight on the Fight Island. How do you feel?
Feel absolutely amazing. I mean, obviously, like I said, I had a fight scheduled for San Diego, which would have been nice. I mean, listen, California, going to America, I was really quite looking forward to fighting in the States, but you couldn't have asked for any better sort of replacement. Going to Abu Dhabi for a debut is absolutely amazing. Getting to go to a different country, new environment, new fan base. Everyone's eyes is going to be watching because these are the only sporting events going on right now. So it's absolutely amazing. I mean, any fight that I would have fought in the UFC, doesn't matter where it was, I would have definitely felt the same, the same excitement and euphoric feelings. But the fact that I get to do it, in such a lovely venue, they've been there before, and in front of no crowd and stuff like that. I know loads of people have been asking me, how does it feel to fight in no crowd? But to be honest, I mean, as much as I love my support, my friends and family, and I do notice them. Most of the time I sort of block it out. I'm just like tunnel vision straight to the cage. So, I feel like it's exactly the same. Like some of the sparring sessions I had before, like going to Brazil, and there's like a couple of guys around the cage and they're just you two inside the cage. It's gonna be exactly like that. It's gonna be the same feelings, the same rush. I can imagine it's gonna be quite a cool thing. And listen, anytime a fighter gets to lace up the UFC gloves, gets to wear the Reebok kit, I mean, it's just it gives me that energy to go and want to perform at my best and really show what I'm capable of. So, like I say, I can't wait. I embrace pressure. I embrace, all these, crazy situations. And like I say, I'm ready to put on a show.
What do you think of your next opponent, Vinicius Moreira, and how are you preparing for this match?
Right, so he's, from what I've seen, he's a very, very good grappler. He's a very good fighter. He does, again, he's another one of those guys who does, one or two things, but he does them really, really, really well. He gets his opponents down, he gets them on the floor, and finds a way to land the ground and pound and submit them. And obviously his jiu-jitsu is very good. You see his transitions are very slick. So he's a very tough opponent. Look, at the end of the day, I know my stand-up is going to be superior to his. I'm working on everything extensive. I'm training similar to how I've trained to my last couple of opponents, stopping the takedown, making sure I can get back up to my feet and landing big, heavy strikes. So at the end of the day, it's funny, my last couple of training camps have been preparing for pretty much a similar type of opponent. So I understand that, in the UFC, there's a lot more money on the line and there's a lot more on the line. So they're going to be willing to do more. So they might want to strike more or whatever. But that's where I'm going to shine. That's where I'm going to overpower and overtake my opponent and go for the finish. That's what I always do. I always go for the finish. So I believe that I will suffocate him in there with my striking and my cardio. And I think it'll be too much for him. But of course, I've got to give him massive respect because he's won all these fights with tremendous skill. So you got to give him credit to that. But I do feel I am the superior fighter.
What do you think about the current situation in the UFC lightweight category? About the retirement of Jon Jones?
Oh yeah, in the light heavyweight division. Listen, I think provided that there's a fight that's worthy enough to get his attention, I do feel that he may come back, later on down the line. Probably right now is not the time for him because, but I feel there's a lot of great. I think people often overlook the light heavyweight division. They think, oh yeah, that like the featherweight or the bantamweight divisions are much tougher, but we've got a lot of killers in our division. You've got Alexander Rakic, you've got Ion Kutalaba, you got Magomed Ankalaev. So you got loads of great fighters, and they're all stepping up. I mean, listen, Volkan Ozdemir. Now you've got Jiri Prochaska, who's coming in from Rising. So, we've got a very stacked division. People don't think it's stacked because, but really there's a lot of good fighters. It's just because they've not been given their chance to really show themselves out that much. So I feel like now there's been a bit of a resurgence in the light heavyweight division, and I think that's become quite an exciting thing for Jon Jones. Even like I say, maybe 1 or 2 years, he may feel that he wants to step back into the cage again. So it's a very exciting time for light heavyweights in the UFC. It's a very exciting time for fighting overall, just because there's so much attention on it now. So yeah, I can't wait to just slowly work my way up the ranks, keep beating guys, and keep working my way to the top.
Who you like to face someone in particular after your match against Vinicius Moreira?
To be honest, I don't look past any opponent. All my full focus goes on the opponent at hand. At the minute, obviously, trying to work your way up the ranks, they offer you someone, and you've got to take out whoever that they give you. And I know it's such a cliche thing that fighters say, whoever they give me, I'll take it. I mean, listen, there may be a time further on down the line where I feel I'm superior and I want to call out someone. I will call out and go for those fights. But at the minute, I've got an opponent. It's been contracted. I've signed the signature and stuff like that. So I'm fully focused on beating him because he's very dangerous. And then after that, I'm pretty sure that they'll throw me some names, and then that's when I'll make my call out or make my statement to go and get that opponent. But at the end of the day, if you want to be the best, you got to beat all the best. So I'm ready to fight the best fighters.
Modestas, last question. What are your plans for the future?
I plan to literally go and make my steps up through this division. I'm looking to be one of the most exciting light heavyweights that's ever been in the UFC. I'm looking to make a statement. I've been given my opportunity now. I feel like everything's happened for a reason. The losses early in my career happened for a reason, and now every fight I've faced gradually tougher opposition, and now I'm going to the biggest stage in the world to finally show the world what I'm capable of. So within the next couple of years, within 2 years, I want to be making my way towards the top, beating the best competition, and then fighting for the UFC light heavyweight title by the time I'm 28, 29. Listen, I understand that's a massive dream and a massive goal for every fighter, but I truly believe I have the skills and the people around me to go and do that. So for me, literally, I don't see nothing else. All I see is gold, and that's what I'm going for.
Thanks for your time, Modestas. It was a pleasure to talk with you.
Oh, nice one, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Really enjoyed talking with you.
Do you have something to say to your fans?
All of the people, all the people in England, in London, everyone in Lithuania, all I've got to say is that I'm coming with intense ferocity, and I'm going to go and put on an absolute show. I'm literally in the best shape of my life. My skill set's at the best it's ever been. So you're going to see the best version of myself in the cage, and I'm going to go out and put on a violent show.
Thank you, Modestas.
All right, nice one, mate. Thank you so much.